In this video, we're going to show you 10 veggies that we've grown that we are not going to grow again because either how they produced or how they tasted.
Yep, so stay tuned if you want to check it out. So these are our top 10 garden veggies that we grew last year that we will not be putting in our garden again, either because they tasted not good or because of how the plant performed. But we'll talk a little bit about why they made the list of veggie varieties that we're just not going to grow again because they weren't worth our time, effort, or energy.
We tried growing more than one of every variety, so we knew that, we didn't just have a fluke seed. So this is our honest opinion on why we didn't like them and why we're not going to grow them again.
Yep, and for a lot of them, we did try a year before too, for some of them. So we gave them a couple years, but some of them, it's like, they are just not worth it at all.
If you grow 3 or 4 plants and they all taste the same and they taste like not good, then we're going to give up on them.
Yeah, we're going to be done. The list is not in any particular order, but the first thing we did put on the list is called Green Night Eggplant. These eggplant were long green eggplant, and it was hard to tell when they were ripe, but we picked them at young ripeness and at very ripe points, and they just did not taste good. They were loaded with seeds inside. We actually made a video about eggplant, and I talked about these and showed a little bit more about them, but we did not like them at all, and we will not be growing them again. They were not worth it. They did produce a lot of eggplant, but we ended up leaving them on the plant because they weren't good. Yeah, so Green Night Eggplant, we will not be growing that particular variety of eggplant again.
Did not taste good.
No.
Because of their poor flavor.
Yeah, and the seeds. So many seeds.
The other thing we will not be growing again this year is Thai Purple Eggplant.
Yep, so while we're on eggplant, we're going to do the other eggplant on our list.
Thai Purple Eggplant made the list because they were pretty, but they tasted like crap.
Yes, they did. We caught them at early maturity and later maturity, and it didn't really matter. They were kind of bitter. They didn't taste good. They looked almost like an heirloom tomato. When people saw them in our baskets, they're like, is that a tomato? Because they're a purple color, so they thought maybe it could be a tomato. And they just weren't very good. They were different looking and kind of pretty, but we will not grow them again because of the taste.
Low producer too.
Yeah.
They didn't produce that much. They took a long time, but yeah.
It took a long time to start putting on fruit, for sure.
That's neither here nor there because they didn't taste good.
So we're going to talk about some tomato varieties that we didn't like. Our first tomato variety that we didn't like is called Purple Russian. And I don't have the seed packet for that one actually, but those were kind of disappointing. They were supposed to be almost like a Roma type looking tomato, like a long tomato that was purple, but they just did not taste good. And then after we tried some and realized they didn't really taste good, we were already not excited about them, but then they started splitting and cracking really bad with like giant split wounds, and they're extremely bland, like watery and bland and just not good. Not good. Yeah.
No reason to grow those again.
Yeah, so those are off the list for future gardens of ours.
Next on the list is another tomato. It's a spoon tomato, and we kind of knew this going in. It was a free seed from Baker Creek. We threw a couple in and tried to sell a few, but because we thought maybe people's kids would want them, but nobody's really excited about it. And
some people were. Some people liked having something little.
We did put one in the garden, and then the teeny tiny little baby tomatoes that came on it still didn't taste that good.
Yeah, so I thought they were okay tasting, or like good tasting, but it's such a hassle to pick these tiny little tomatoes. Wasn't really our thing. The plant gets huge, so it gets unmanageable if you're not pruning it, which we don't prune our tomato plants. And it's just something for us that we will not be growing again, not worth the time and effort or space in the garden.
Next one on our list, we had a few recommendations. We got up a YouTuber, I think called Mark's Garden Life. I think he's from East Coast somewhere. Anyway, we saw this one on his tomato review in a Zapotec, Oaxacan.
We think that's how you say it.
Anyway, it was a terrible tomato from what we had experienced last year, and we're not going to grow it again.
The reason we thought it was horrible is because of the way our plants performed. The plants got kind of sickly looking, and the fruit was nothing special on the few fruit that we did get off the plant. So we know in our climate, for us, with what happened to these particular plants, they are not worth our time to grow them, and we'll just stick with other things that we do enjoy growing as far as tomatoes go. Another tomato that we will not be growing in our garden is called Green Giant, and the reason we're not going to be growing these is because they were really nothing special in my opinion. We tried a couple, They're okay. It's hard to tell with green tomatoes when they're ripe. And these did not stand out to us. They will not be going in our garden again.
Didn't produce much.
Yeah.
From what it did produce, wasn't very good. People rant and rave online about the Paul Robinson. We quote unquote heard that it has a cult-like following.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we're like, oh, well, we better try it.
We gotta try it.
Tried it. We had a few plants in the garden last year and had good representation of the fruit set, we think, and tried those, and it really was nothing special to write home about. Kind of mid-sized tomatoes that didn't have all that great a flavor. So like compare that to like a Cherokee Purple, and it's night and day.
Not comparable. Yeah. So that's why it made our list of things we're not gonna put our effort and energy into again. Didn't stand out enough to matter for, because it produces less fruit as well than our other front runners that we know are going to produce a ton of fruit. So this is not going in our garden again, Paul Robinson tomato. The last tomato variety that is not going in our garden in the future is called Tumbled Tom Yellow. These are supposed to be really small plants that you could put in a hanging basket or on a patio, and they just kind of tumble over the side, and they can be grown that way. We grew these with the intent of possibly providing that and selling that to other people. And so we wanted to try the tomatoes before we brought plants to people with this seed. And I'm so glad we tried it ourselves before we sold any of these, because they are not good, in our opinion. We had at least 3 plants of them, I want to say, because they were all grouped real close together. And they're really small, so we caged them in these really small little cages, which, I mean, that was nice. They were really compact. They put on quite a few little cherry, like yellow, orange tomato cherries. I think they're more yellow. And I wanted to like them. I really wanted to. They just were not good eating. Like we intentionally stopped picking these and left them on the plant because we didn't want to mix in with our other tomatoes in our cherry tomato baskets at the farmer's market, because we didn't want this one kind of tomato to give us a bad name. So that's how much we didn't like these. So these will not be going in our garden again. And they just took up, even though they're so tiny, they took up unnecessary room. Not good. So no Tumbling Tom tomatoes for us in the future.
We try not to grow things that taste bad.
Yes, of course. We want to enjoy our food, and we do enjoy a lot of our produce. All right, enough with the tomatoes. We have 2 more veggie varieties left that we will not be growing. The first is a bean variety called Forex Snap Pole Beans, and we will not be growing these simply due to the fact that they did not germinate well, and the few plants that we did get off of them were not very productive, didn't yield a lot, just didn't do very well, wasn't worth our time at all.
Next to our bush beans and other veggies, they just, you know, it's not like we put them in a different bed and they didn't produce or something. They were right next to other veggies that were hopping, but these ones just didn't put any beans on hardly. Yeah, so we're not going to be growing those again. And then our last variety that we're not going to be growing this year, it's kind of a long name. It's called Hatch Green Mild NM 6-4 Pepper Chili. So it's a kind of chili from Sandia Seed Company. And we did have a lot of success with their Big Jim variety, but not with this other variety. They're smaller chilies, and they had a lot of blossom end rot happening. And then when we did get some, they were really hard to peel. They were not as productive. So that's why they made the list of veggies that we won't be growing in the future to improve our future garden and make it even better than last year. So that about wraps up this video. We're really excited for next year to try some new varieties and continue to learn about different kinds of plants and enjoy all the produce that we can, and be able to share some of the produce whenever we sell it in our local community. And we're always living and learning. If you have some varieties that you think we should definitely try because they're on your list of things you will always grow in your garden, please leave them in the comments. We'd love to read them and maybe try some of them out. Hopefully we saved you guys some money from wasting your money on seed that you don't need to buy. And time. Yeah. Because it's like you have to wait the whole season to find out if it's going to be good or not. And, you know, everybody's climate's different, and that can be a factor. But some of these, we tried them, and they just weren't tasty. Some of these seed companies are really good at taking pictures and writing a good little op-ed or whatever you want to say on what the outstanding flavors are and whatnot, and they don't live up to it at all. So. Sometimes. But sometimes they do. Yeah. Yeah, so it just depends. But anyways, those are our opinions. Might be different from yours. Thanks so much for checking out this video. If you're interested to see the kind of gardens that we're growing and see what we have in store for 2024, because it's going to be kind of fun, please consider subscribing to our channel and like this video. Thanks.